Hello, it is Sunday, fun day, October, I believe is the 27th of 2024. Steve Cypress here, relaxing by the pool on a spectacular, beautiful, partly cloudy, beautiful fall day here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area of Arizona. I hope it's fantastic wherever you are as well. My beautiful wife Michelle went off to play mahjong with some of her friends, and she'll be back shortly, but I'm catching up on some reading and relaxing and hanging out by the pool. But I'm thinking about couple of personal notes today. One is, I believe, could have looked it up before I hit the record button here, but I believe I heard that today is the day that Donald Trump is holding a campaign rally in Madison Square Garden. Now, that is where I'm, just like Trump, I'm born in Queens, New York, in Hollis, Queens, and I worked in Madison Square Garden. It was one of my high school jobs, and went back to work there on a break from college as well. And man, so that was about 3 years I worked at Madison Square Garden. And how cool is it that there's this major event where I'm sure Trump is, I mean, Trump must be loving it. So I can just tell you from someone who was born in Queens and grew up in New York. Speaking of which, taking the subway into work at Madison Square Garden is, reading the paper for the 20, 30-minute trip. I would always grab the paper. And that's where I first started following Trump's antics about, what is it now, almost 50 years ago. You know, he would do anything to get publicity, right? So his marriages, his divorces, his business failures, his doing this, doing that, whatever. You know, wearing a tuxedo to this event, hobnobbing with this celebrity, which, by the way, everyone loved him. All these celebrities who now, call him Hitler and all the BS because just because they don't like his politics. But, as a human being, of course, they always loved him, and I'm sure they still do, but they got to play the game of partisan politics. But I digress. Madison Square Garden, many fond memories there, and I'm sure Trump is having the time of his life. And I saw somebody commenting somewhere in social media like, what a waste. Trump is not, there's 51 different elections for president here in the U.S. It's not one big election. I mean, some people like to twist themselves into pretzels, somehow irrelevantly cobbling together all the different votes from 51 different elections for some reason and totaling it up as if that would matter for something. But in 51 different elections, supposedly people just believe it's been like probably since Reagan, right? Reagan won every single state except his opponent's home state in '84. So that's 40 years. So it's probably that long since a Republican won New York. And then people are like, why would Trump do a rally in a state where he can't win? Because it's all about these swing states, battleground states. Arizona, where I live, is one of them. And wherever, I don't think Florida is anymore, Pennsylvania, Georgia, whatever they are. And which, of course, is stupid because I'm sure that Trump is going to win a bunch of states that people don't think are a battleground swing state up for grabs. And by the time that all happens, Arizona, it won't even matter anymore. I think we only have like 7 electoral votes here, like very insignificant, won't even matter. Election will long be over. And if the Democrat Party had any respect for Americans, they would have put up a decent candidate. I mean, we deserve a better candidate. Last time, Biden, horrible enough, they found someone even worse. But if they had a decent candidate, that candidate would win some states, surprisingly. There's all this nonsense about the swing states. But anyway, this campaign stuff is not about New York. It's not about having a rally in New York. And then I heard people going like, oh, it's sold. He's going to sell out the garden. Like, first of all, I'm pretty sure tickets to any Trump event are free. Any of these campaign events are always free to any campaign event. Nobody charges for them. So it's not really, you're not selling out a free event. But geez, how could you not pack the garden? There's 8 million or so people live in New York City, not to mention people who come in from New Jersey, Connecticut, all around. I think, during the week, during the daytime, there's 14, 15 million people in New York City given at any given time who are working there, living there. But just let's take the 8 million New Yorkers. Let's say 90% hate Trump. That leaves 10%. last I checked, out of 8 million, that's like 800,000 people in the Garden holds. Well, for boxing, back in the day when I worked there, for boxing, with the little ring in the middle, it held 22,500. For concerts, depending on the size of the stage, and that went for wrestling, of course. Pro wrestling was in there once a month on the first Monday of every month. Those are some fun days. But for concerts, it would hold like 20,000. For Knick games, 19,500. So let's just say 20. Let's say 22,000 people. Like out of 800,000, just in New York alone, that would vote for Trump, even if he lost the state by 90%. So how stupid to think you couldn't fill a tiny 20,000. Don't Trump rallies sometimes get 50,000 people trying to get in or hanging out outside or whatever? I mean, I remember back in the day, like, I think Simon and Garfunkel did a concert in the park and they had like 1 million people there. Again, free. But, you know, what you think you can't get 20,000 people? But Trump must be loving it. And so that's what this event is not about New York or swinging or swaying or winning or flipping or whatever they call it of New York. It's a national event. It's Madison Square Garden. It's the most famous arena in the world. It's the entertainment arena capital, certainly of the U.S. It's the sports arena, indoor sports arena capital of the U.S. It's Madison Square Garden. So I'm sure it's getting plenty of, now I say it's getting, it's probably over by now. So did I watch it or any of it? Of course not. Or maybe it's not on yet. Or maybe it's on right now or whatever. So that's one personal, and I just think it's today. Maybe it was even yesterday. But that's one personal note. I think it's today. Trump is in Madison Square Garden. Many fond memories of my days in Madison Square Garden, walking around the seats at Knick games and Ranger games and concerts and the circus and the wrestling and the boxing and the world team tennis and you name it, and selling the beer and the popcorn and the peanuts and all that kind of stuff. But the second one is I went on to Facebook. I do every day to record my Facebook Live video and to post it on there in some groups that I run and all that. But also, check out whose birthday. Facebook tells me whose birthday it is and who commented on my post, whatever. So I checked into Facebook and check it out. Amazingly, the NFL had paid to run an ad to me. Just did before I turned this on, and it was like, oh, the score of some game. And I was like, who is, I got some friends that still, for some reason, for whatever reason, I won't, judge. You can have whatever reason you want. They still pay attention to this thing. I happen to personally have self-respect, love my country, respect my country, so how could I possibly pay any attention to the NFL, which has no respect to most of its fans, certainly not to its country, allowing its employees to protest against the flag and the national anthem of their own country in uniform at the game. I wouldn't eat in a restaurant that allowed its waiters, if they played the national anthem and the waiters started kneeling and protesting and doing whatever, I would just get up and leave. I just don't want anything. No, if that's what you want to do, fine, but I don't want to have anything to do with those companies. So I was like, why would the NFL be running an ad to me? The only thing I've talked about the NFL for the past, 7 or 8 years has been extremely negative, and plenty of negative stuff before that, all kinds of their scams about their October Pink campaign. Read up on it if you don't know. I've hosted about that for at least a decade. That's a big scam. Lots of other scams by the NFL, veteran things they do. I'm sure they still do them. But I was like, NFL paid to run an ad to me. And then I realized my beloved New York Mets made a great run at the end of the season, the last 4 months of the season. They had the best record in baseball, and then they had to wait till the last week and miraculously come from behind to make the playoffs, and then they miraculously came behind to win a playoff series, and they miraculously came from behind to win another playoff series, and they made it into the championship series before they lost to the Dodgers, who are now playing in the World Series. And I was posting a lot about the Mets and liking a lot of posts about the Mets and joining Mets fan pages that Facebook would suggest to me to see more posts about the Mets to like and whatever. And I was like, that's why the NFL must have said, man, this guy's been posting a lot and liking a lot of things about baseball. He must be a sports fan. Let's pay money to run an ad. that's the business lesson here on Sunday Fun Day, all these personal notes, but the business lesson is, man, you got to know when you're running ads, it's real important not only who you're targeting, who to run an ad to, but the negative side, who to not run an ad to. That costs money. Not to mention, very convenient for me, because as soon as I saw that the NFL had run an ad to me, I immediately clicked on the menu of the ad and selected block the NFL, which I'm thinking about how did I not do for 7 or 8 years. So thank you, NFL, for being foolish, careless, stupid enough, whatever you want to call it, irresponsible, I don't know, to pay money to run an ad to me so that I could remind myself or wake up and block you. So that all I'll see from the NFL is the stuff I always see from friends and family who, again, not just